I was interested in Mr. Congressman Green's comments. I think he missed some of the sarcasm on this side when he thought we were holding China up as the example. I think the point was that so many of my colleagues were asking questions about China doesn't do this and China doesn't do that, and then they were being sarcastic when they said, well, don't you think it'd be great if we did that? Because I think that everybody understands that the Chinese have a completely different governmental system than we do, but we're getting a little tired of having the administration, the current administration and its allies come in here and say, well, China's great and you ought to be like China, because we're not going to move 22 million people out of their ancestral home areas in order to have a more efficient hydroelectric system, and we're not going to do some of the things that China has done. All we're asking for, I believe, speaking for myself, is that we have some reasonable regulations and not unreasonable regulations, and I don't believe the Chinese are anywhere near our regulatory scheme. And in that regard, Mr. Palmer, can you tell me, are the Chinese anywhere near our regulatory scheme when it comes to coal, since you're the coal guy?
No, and I want to put in context my comments about
Yes,
China,
sir.
and because I do go to China, and I have high admiration for what they have done there. I'm not in here talking about political systems or ideology or any of that, but I see a society that believes in energy supply for people to raise people up and out of poverty, and I think that's what we ought to do here. In terms of the specific question on the regulatory regime, they have they have decided as a matter of national policy, they have an ability to do it directly. They have the money in the bank that they've amassed over very shrewdly over a period of time. They are putting in state-of-the-art clean coal technology. That is what they're doing, and they are driving carbon capture and storage research and development and this Green Gen project that we're in, and that's what they're doing. From that standpoint, from the standpoint of getting our regulations right, so we can use our own technology. We are state-of-the-art in terms of technology. We know how to do these things. That's our point. Is that the value, the people value associated with low-cost, abundant, always available, reliable electricity, as opposed to high prices and scarcity, are values we ought to adopt. They've adopted, and we had it before. But right now, in Washington, that is not popular to talk that way, period, full stop. And we think that needs to change. That's why we come at it the way we do.
And if we continue down our regulatory scheme, you anticipate that we'll have some scarcity or high prices?
Absolutely. It's designed to do that. And if you look at the ideology behind the environmental community, and you go back 10 or 20 years, it's absolutely designed to do that.
And when we do that, we not only drive businesses offshore, am I correct?
Yes, you do.
But we also raise the cost of the average citizen of the United States to have the power to heat and
absolutely
and make sure that their homes are.
And every metric says that low-cost electricity is a requirement for more people to live longer and live better. And if you take up the cost of energy, you drive down human health and welfare. So EPA has it exactly wrong in terms of how they come at this. Not to argue with the values on emissions, but there's no attention paid to the underlying value of the activity that creates the emissions. In other words, what are we making with this fuel that creates emissions, and what are the benefits of that? They don't consider that, they don't look at it, and it's not relevant. And we are on a path to high prices in the United States. Absolutely we are.
And would you agree with me that if you represented a district where the median household income was somewhere around $35,000 a year, that on the trajectory we're on energy costs, that I'm going to have some people that are going to be cold in the wintertime? Isn't that correct?
And I would totally agree with you, and I would expect them to be pounding the table in the mornings when you're having coffee with them, saying, go back to that city and tell them what's going on here.
And in fact, we're already seeing it. Isn't that correct? And are you aware that Appalachian Power has just asked the Commonwealth of Virginia for, I think, a 9.6% increase? I may be off a little bit.
I wasn't aware of that specifically, but for sure, the capital investment associated with this, what I call, people call a train wreck. We have friends in the railroad industry don't like that. I call it a tsunami.
It's just
with
a mess.
What's going on with EPA?
It's just a mess.
It's a high price spread.
And the end result is you don't have to be an expert in health to understand that this is going to have a negative impact on the health of the citizens, particularly those who have less economic means than others.
I would agree. It's common sense.
Thank you. I'll yield back my 17 seconds.